Remembering Smallville.
Somebody didn't get much sleep.
Uh-oh.
We're going to keep going on this recording. You're going to have to pull yourself together.
Oh no, Nicole's having
Uh-oh.
So, how about I'll give you a script. This is Remembering Smallville.
Bless you.
Welcome back to Remembering
Okay, I'll do it. Is it recording?
Yes.
Okay. My recordings are probably fine.
No, they're not.
Oh, okay, here we go. Everybody buckle up.
Welcome back to Remembering Smallville.
A Smallville rewatch podcast.
I'm Daniel.
I'm Nicole.
I'm Kim.
And I'm Brett.
Stay tuned for a special new song at the end of this episode. Okay, everyone. Today we're going to talk about something that's actually really relatable to this episode. What gives you a rush?
Ooh, good question.
I love this.
What do you got, babe?
Okay, so I love adrenaline. That's perhaps why I messed around with drugs as a teenager. I almost said child. As a teen. Being on stage gives me a huge rush, performing in front of people. I love roller coasters and like theme parks. Oh, so good.
There's a place not too far from us that we went, and Kim got to skydive, but just like in a
Indoor skydiving?
Indoor skydiving. Mm-hmm.
It was amazing. Here's the funny part. I did the sky coaster at one of the theme parks by our house. And right then I knew I would never skydive. That's a little too much for me.
So you have a limit.
Yeah.
But indoor skydiving, totally her jam.
Amazing.
Well, you're totally speaking my language because snowboarding gives me a huge rush. Just going down the mountain, feeling that amazing frozen air just slam into you as you're going. Oh, it's so good.
You mean like you're surfing on the mountain?
Yes. Oh, it's so good. I mean, if you ski, maybe you could get it too, but...
I do both, and I get it with both. But more so with snowboarding.
Yeah, there's something about it. And then, of course, skateboarding. I love that too. Performing on stage, singing in front of people gives me a huge rush and high. And then, of course, roller coasters, just like you were saying. Oh, so good. That's why I struggle with theme parks sometimes, like Disneyland. Oh. Because it doesn't thrill me, and I need thrills. And
exactly.
So, like, I want to go to places
Not
like Six Flags.
nostalgia.
Yeah. What about you, Coley?
I think I might be like neurodivergent or something because apart from roller coasters, which are fun, I don't know what rush means, I'm realizing. Because is that just fun? Or is it like adrenaline?
Yeah,
No.
it's like your
Because
heart
I don't
faster.
get adrenaline riding a roller coaster. I'm just like, yay, this is fun. I could take a nap on a roller coaster. I love the feeling.
So I guess we can talk about what it feels like to actually feel an adrenaline rush. Because
Because
that's
to me,
really
that's
what
not
a
a
rush
good
is.
feeling. The only time I feel adrenaline is when I'm like, a stranger's knocking at my door. Ah!
Like anxiety,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just I have anxiety and I don't know what joy feels like.
She just lives in a state of
I
edge.
have massive anxiety, and no, it's different. It's the same adrenaline rush, but there's a joyful adrenaline rush and a terrifying adrenaline rush.
It's your body responding to different things with excitement, because I'm pretty sure, now you could correct me if I'm wrong, and maybe if somebody comments they can tell me, but I'm pretty sure that a happy adrenaline rush actually mixes serotonin in. And
Science.
whereas anxiety won't do that.
That's interesting.
Just pit sweat.
So you're getting so you're getting a serotonin high from the fun plus the adrenaline combined, which is why it feels so much better than the anxiety type of adrenaline where, you know, something happens, you know, like it's that type of adrenaline that a mother can use to lift a car, as Lex once talked about.
Yes. But guess what? Not everyone needs adrenaline or rushes. So maybe you're just one of those people.
Maybe. I mean, I like things. I like roller coasters a lot. They're great fun. I just don't know if I would call it adrenaline because I feel perfectly safe in a roller coaster.
Oh.
I 100% trust the manufacturers. I don't know. Which is why I have I'll never go to space. I just don't trust it. I'll never skydive. I don't trust it. But I trust roller coasters, so I don't have that like rush of what if? There's none of that. So I just am perfectly at peace on a roller coaster.
That's so interesting because I think that's part of where the adrenaline comes from is what if I,
Get hurt?
See, I'm in between. I totally get where you're coming from, Nicole. I don't get a rush from these things. I don't feel like roller coasters are fun. Snowboarding, skiing, fun. But I'm like, I don't know if I feel the adrenaline from that. If I were to say a rush, something I get a rush from, I might be unique in this. I actually love watching movies. And it doesn't even have to be an action thriller movie. I get all excited. I'll be in my chair. If it's in the movie theater, it's why I like the movie theater so much. I get in my seat and I just like, oh, here we go, here we go, here we go. And
It's
that
true.
to me is what gets me, it's what gives me a rush, is actually watching movies. I enjoy these other things, but that's actually more of where I get my rush.
I have seen that in you.
That's awesome.
I don't trust the roller coaster manufacturers at all.
Oh, you
I
don't?
still don't get a rush from it like that. I'm like, I trust nothing. I'm a big guy, and so I know on some of those roller coasters, I'm pushing the very limits of what that can do around those corners. I don't trust them. But
But it's interesting that we almost always associate the adrenaline rush with free fall,
Yes.
right?
Which seems to be a theme in our episode with Smallville.
Yes, that
So
leads
true.
us right into it. Let's talk about it.
Thank you for listening to the Luther Corp Weekly Memo. All Luther Corp employees are encouraged to follow the Remembering Smallville social media pages to stay up to date on the latest Remembering Smallville news and policies. Follow us at Remembering Smallville on Instagram or email us at rememberingsmallville@gmail.com.
This is season 2, episode 14, Rush.
After a parasitic worm infects Pete and Chloe, they become thrill-seeking daredevils, and Pete uses red meteor rocks to persuade Clark to join them on a dangerous adventure.
I loved this episode. I remembered every moment of it before it even started. This is one that is in me, like that bug is in Pete. I'm serious.
I love that. I hated it. But I think if I would have watched it as a teenager,
Right, exactly.
I would have loved it. Yeah.
I love that this episode is the episode where everyone's on red K. Well, not everyone, but all three of them are on red
Essentially.
K. Essentially, because this bug basically is red K for humans, which is exactly why Pete got that and did it. It's so fun to me just because they get to act differently and they get to do fun stuff. And there are a lot of pretty fun scenes in this.
Yeah, so let's break this shiz down. Our episode opens with a parking lot full of youths, a giant blow-up green alien.
yeah,
It's very organized, like places, lights where you should drive your car to park.
Yeah, it's a very well thought out rave.
high school rave.
Yeah. Okay, speaking of raves, anybody ever been to a rave?
Nope.
No.
No.
Are raves even a thing anymore?
Yes, most definitely.
Well, are they the same as they were in the early 2000s, or are they different now?
I bet they'd be different.
Have you heard of silent raves?
Yeah, where you just listen to your own music. and
No.
everybody's in the room?
Everyone listens to the same music, but they all wear headphones.
Oh, right.
They
And
do
it's-
those on
Everyone's
cruise
listening
ships.
to it, but it's so that it doesn't disturb everyone outside of the building, or on a cruise ship that it's not disturbing the rest
So you
of
can
the
just
cruise.
quietly
So everyone
rave
is
out?
Well, it's loud in your ears.
Yeah.
If you've got the headphones, right? So it's like you're in a rave, and the lights are all the same.
I would go and take off my headphones and just laugh at everyone. It would
Yeah.
look so funny.
I bet. Well, it's interesting because raves have a reputation.
as being drug riddled.
Right. And so
Ecstasy
I'm
fests.
watching this episode and the beginning with this whole rave. I feel like almost everything happening isn't that different from what would happen at a normal rave, because the only difference really is that it was an alien parasite thing that does it. But I'm sure there are people pricking people and slipping things into drinks, doing all that. That of course
It's a little
happens.
LSD lotion.
Well, that's the vibe they were going for. Clearly,
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is a rave. This is scary. That's why and Kim pointed this out, when the boy jumps from the tower and dies, everyone just kind of like, oh, okay, and they
Yeah.
keep
No
dancing.
one reacted.
I know.
It bugged me so bad.
Chloe does. She's like, oh,
Yeah, but it's silent. Did you notice the weird silence? And I think it was
Yeah.
a director thing
Yeah.
because they wanted to show their reactions in the main actors' faces.
Yeah.
But there were no like screaming.
If everyone's all hyped up on drugs, or they're all wasted, or they're all experiencing, because this parasite's not the only drug that's there. It's a rave.
I think it's implied that almost everyone there is on drugs.
Yeah, of some sort,
Yeah.
which is basically a rave, right?
And I think realistically, if we didn't need to see the shift in Pete, he would be more into it to begin with, but we needed to see him going from concern to not having a care in the world from the bite.
Yeah.
I think realistically, let's say there was no bug, I think he would have had a great time.
Well, they're
Yes.
also doing the same thing in this episode with Clark. He seems a little extra innocent, timid, boyish in the beginning until the red K happens. And then, so they really like to juxtapose these things. It makes it a lot more obvious, which you can think that's good or bad. It's whatever.
Did you guys like the cave drawing of the scorpion bug that
Yeah.
the bug hides in?
Yeah.
So watching this for the first time, when we got into the caves, I was like, wow, this is a great setup. Like, who was there to set all of this
I know,
up?
right?
Yeah, I think all that scaffolding was from Lex's stuff.
Oh.
Yeah, so they just mounted
because
it.
they, like this cave could collapse. We need to set up
Yes.
safety, like
that makes
it's
so
like a
much
roll
sense.
cage for a cave.
Okay.
So I think that was all Lex's doing, and then they just used it.
Okay. Well, then when the kid jumps off and dies, so you hear the bug like pierce Pete's neck. And it sounded like his neck cracked. So I thought for some reason they were connected and he dies. And so Pete feels it. That's what I thought.
Interesting.
That's a very Star Trek type of
Yeah.
dilemma,
It really
right?
is.
Totally. So my thought was, why is Travis at the rave to begin with?
He wants
Who
to fit
invited
in.
that kid?
Nobody invited him. He just heard about it. He wanted to be there. And
Clark didn't know.
Oh, if Clark knew, he was going to put a stop
Exactly.
to that. You know this.
Who slipped up and said, "Yeah, Travis, bro, you finish your calculus? We're doing a rave tonight."
Chloe's his lab partner. She could have been talking about it with
Maybe
Pete in front of her.
Maybe Chloe.
And he kisses her. I'm like, this guy, like, what a way to die. He's living his best life.
It's true.
Okay.
So there's this part at the beginning of this scene where Chloe does better at getting those people off of the cave paintings than Pete.
She speaks teen.
The way to deal with dumb people is you tell them lies, essentially, that get them to do things. So, for instance, if you had a crackhead that you were dealing with and you needed to get rid of them, but you needed them to, like, come with you to where the cops are or something, you offer them food. And they'll be like, oh, of course, or you offer them something and say, hey, if you come with me, I'll buy you a hamburger. They'll be like, yeah, man. That's how you interact with dum-dums, is by kind of appealing to their level of stupidity with really, really simple requests. So that's
how Chloe has all her connections.
yeah.
One of my favorite parts after all of this takes place, after the intro, there's a newspaper there looking about the local teen dies in cave rave. But if you look at it, it looks like a middle-aged man.
A
Oh,
science
it totally
teacher.
does.
Oh my
It
gosh.
does not look like a kid anymore.
Travis, not very photogenic.
My favorite thing that happens right after the intro is when Pete rides up on his motorcycle. Do you see him use the plastic sign as a ramp?
Yes. I don't know what was behind that
Yeah.
to make it actually
I mean,
be
clearly
one.
they had a real ramp behind it to do that, but it makes it look like it's not, and he's just
Used a caution wet sign to pop it.
In
pop
real
up into
life,
the
he just
air.
rolls right over that thing.
right.
Do you know what I loved? He knocks a lady over with her groceries.
Uh-huh.
There's so many people around, including Clark.
No one
Nobody helps her.
She literally, and then she finally stands up and is like, "Oh, the youth of America." And he drives back over her again.
The youth of America. This really is the YOLO episode. Do you remember that word?
YOLO.
Yeah.
YOLO? What does it
You
stand
only
for?
live once.
Oh, yeah.
I just don't understand him like motocrossing on the sidewalk. Like there's a whole road right there.
Because YOLO.
That's stupid.
I know. Well,
He does give Clark some good advice.
yeah, I was thinking that. I'm like,
Now that Fordman's toast,
yeah.
I mean, too soon?
No, it's been a while.
I mean, I was making memes about the submarine that sunk last year before it imploded.
Daniel.
But anyway, it is really good advice from Pete. He's like, Clark, it's time to step up and just be a man, essentially. Just go ask Lana. Just have the courage to do it.
I love
Clark,
this.
Yeah, so Clark is like, you know what? F it. I'm going to. And so he walks in, he catches Lana in a very vulnerable moment, her chalk disintegrating in her front of her eyes. Can't write the word latte to save her life. And he says, you know what? Let's go on a date. But it's so funny because this whole episode is seize the day, be your own windkeeper, whatever. That's a Friends reference.
Yeah.
Lana has been going to a counselor after Whitney's death, and he told her carpe diem, which is a classic seize the day. And so everyone and everything in the universe is trying so hard to get these two people together, and they get so close.
I hated this so bad, you guys. I was like, oh, finally, this is wonderful. And then the second all heck breaks loose, I was like, no, he cannot stand her up again.
Kim's trust issues continued.
Yeah, seriously.
I was so mad.
All the way from episode 1.
I know.
I hated this episode so bad.
We've talked about this before. The writers really do have this thing where they're like, we want Clark and Lana to be together, but we can't. So what's going to stop them before it happens when we want? Here's an episode that does that. Every Red K episode just pisses off Lana, and it's so annoying.
It's really, really annoying. And so we get her frustration. But I love the line where she says, all you had to do was ask. I feel like he's asked before, and you've kind of shot him down.
Not
so.
quite on this
thought.
level. I don't think he's literally said,
Well,
will
'cause
you go on a
yeah.
date with me?
They've been very British about it. Like, not quite asking, not quite answering, not
Yeah.
saying what they feel, saying a piece, not giving all the info. And this time they were like, America, let's go on a date. And she's like, yeah.
So then we bump over to the cave where
And I love this, though. Clark was absolutely going to speed clean that cave.
yes.
He, like, poises and pauses, like, 3, 2, 1. He was going to, like, time himself, set a new personal record. But then Lex walks in and ruins it. Because he was absolutely going to speed clean that cave. And I would have loved that montage.
That didn't even occur to me. I love that so much. And he's like, why do you humans have to barge in?
Yeah.
you humans.
That's got to be like the running joke. Humans.
That is so funny. I
complicate
wonder if
everything.
that'd be hilarious if he was like Homo sapiens.
Okay, Mystique.
Thank you.
I got that reference. I like the deflection happening between Clark and Lex here, where they're kind of not willing to answer their reasons for their interest in the cave, and they're deflecting. They deflect just like politicians. Have you ever heard a politician answer a straight up question?
Lex takes a book out of Clark's backpack that's about reading hieroglyphics. Interesting that he's just happy to reach into Clark's backpack and figure out what he's reading.
Yeah, they're best buds.
That's what I do.
It was unzipped.
I'm not saying he invaded privacy. I just don't care what's in a backpack.
This book is going to start the plot point that's kind of a big one over time.
Since the cave's a major player this season, the Doctor is too, because he is
okay.
involved.
I'm
Yeah.
excited.
Yeah, Dr. Walden.
I don't like him.
Professor Walden.
Right. All I know is that as soon as they said his name, I recognized it, which means that he stands out enough in this story to be recognized by somebody who usually avoids most of these seasons.
But after they've kind of discussed the cave, it kind of goes nowhere yet. Clark likes the caves. Lex is like, why do you like the caves? And Clark lies and is like, because of my dead old girlfriend.
That's a great lie, though.
It is a good one.
Like
true.
If he played it up better, he could convince Lex and keep him off the trail for good. It's Clark here.
And he's a terrible liar.
Yeah.
And what is this show supposed to be? That's finding out.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, there's already tension between them, and it's growing all the time. With every major plot episode that actually drives the plot of the show across, the wedge between Clark and Lex gets a little teeny bit thicker by tiny amounts. But then over time, you notice it.
So Lana is invited by Chloe to go do something, but she lets Chloe know that she has plans with Clark, which creates an awkward conversation for both of them. And Chloe ends up saying, look, if I was in your position, I'd do the exact same thing. Don't let me be your excuse. Go on that date. You kiss those luscious lips.
But the weird thing Chloe says that I was like, barf. She says, oh, I thought you and Clark weren't going to do the mating dance anymore. Oh, why?
I mean, she called it for what it is.
It's disgusting. Like, pick another analogy, please.
That's
Any.
absolutely something Chloe would say, though. She's got
hate
weird
it.
phrases.
I hate it.
I think it's totally in character. You can cringe, but that's totally in character.
So in a total surprise and change of things,
New scene.
the Kents have their finances in order.
Yes!
I
They are-
celebrated.
They
a
must have
good
cashed
spot.
that check from her dad. From
Or
Martha's dad.
I don't think there's been a major destruction of Kent property
In a while.
in many episodes. So they've
Martha's
probably
been
been able to
working.
catch up for it. Plus Martha's working.
Well, they're starting to talk about his future, his college, Interesting fun.
Yeah, and they're trying to figure out how to pay for it. And Jonathan says, well, it doesn't matter. You're not going to make it to college. You're late to school all the time. The principal's called us. This is now a problem. You're grounded from the caves. Or you're kind of just grounded, essentially. He kind of grounds him. But then Clark's like, no. I have a date. I loved so much. As soon as Martha finds out that it's a real, not a study date, that it's a real romantical date, she turns to Jonathan and whispers, we have to let him go. Please.
Mama Martha is on board.
Yeah, like we have to let him go. Just this once, we have to. And then Jonathan says, okay, Clark, you can go. And then he goes, thanks, Mom. yeah. I laughed out loud. I loved it.
That is 100% what happens at our house is on so many things. Oh, babe. And they'll look at her and say, thanks, Mom.
Yep.
Totally.
Yep.
So then we get back to Lex's mansion, and he wants Walden. He has invited him over, and he's trying to buy him in any way he can. Walden won't be bought, so Lex shows him...
Except he will. He took a week's pay for a 10-minute consult.
Well, he can't be bought away from his actual desire, which is to go to Chile.
Yeah.
Apparently. But then he can be bought with interest and intrigue. Mm-hmm. So those cave drawings, the paintings that Lex has taken really good pictures of, are what gets him super duper interested. And now he's canceling. Who knows what needed to fund a trip to Chile to do study?
I assume he just calls up his second and says, you're going.
Maybe.
Take the team we already had planned. Stay in my hotel room. Eat my ceviche. You're on.
But I feel like grants that give you funding to go on that usually depend on the person who's the expert being there. So I was thinking that's a huge consequence that we're just going to blow over. Bye.
Yeah.
But it's worth it because he notices that the symbols are not even Native American.
Yep.
Or anything he's ever seen. So his antennae of science and intrigue is peaked. So it's worth it.
I just love that he ripped up the check in front of Lex.
Yeah,
I
that
feel
was
like
good.
the Luthers do not have that happen to them very often. And so I was like,
It's interesting because ripping up a check is not something that would happen very often in 2024.
Just reject the Venmo.
Yeah.
Can you do that?
Don't Venmo me. You just Venmo back.
Oh, okay.
Had it happen to me before.
yeah.
Okay.
That's so funny. So then we get to the torch, and this is where Clark lies to a girl about that girl's friend. You can't do that to a girl. You cannot lie to her about her friend because she already knows everything about her friend and vice versa. There's no keeping anything from them. Girls talk.
And just lying in general.
Yeah,
Don't do that, you
don't
dummy.
do that. Yeah. Don't lie. It's
yes,
fine.
what I'm
Assume they
talking
know.
about the strategic thing. Sure, if you want to save somebody's feelings, I understand the motivation. But you should know that when you tell a girl something or when a girl is roommates with another girl, they know everything.
So what you're saying is it won't work.
No,
Yeah.
it's never going to work. Mm-hmm. You can't do that and expect it to be successful. So it's a really, really dumb... It's one of his dumbest lies. He has a lot of those in this episode. I like everything about this episode except for the way Clark lies. It's the worst of any that we've seen so far, in my opinion. He just keeps silent, doesn't defend himself, says nothing. It's so annoying.
Oh, you mean it's what Nicole says all the time? Communication, people. If you just said one sentence, the whole episode would be done.
Hey, but to be fair, Clark does try to communicate with Lana why he's canceling the date.
Yeah.
It just goes absolutely
backfires.
awful because he needs to take Pete to the hospital.
Yeah. And I've already thought out a whole great alibi for this. We'll get to it when the time comes. It's foolproof.
Are you talking about the fact that they're in Smallville and people go crazy
No,
about
it's
every
even
other
easier.
week?
It's even easier.
So get over it.
But back in the torch, before we move on, Chloe has read other newspapers, I suppose, from other towns, and 2 other kids have died. They had a weird puncture wound and an enlarged adrenal gland, and one was found at the bottom of an empty swimming pool, and the other one did a head-on, wrapped their Corolla around a pole. So that's now 3 kids dead with crazy, weird adrenaline. Clark makes the connection. Something's going on with Pete. Probably the same thing.
Well, Pete has been acting crazy since the rave. So
Yeah. Clark goes outside and Pete is standing on top of a yellow Jeep.
Yep.
Where did he get this Jeep?
It's probably not his Jeep.
Yeah, that's probably true.
And he's like, Clark, come hang out. Let's do some dangerous stuff.
Let's yell across the street. Yeah. Pete, you're sick. Like, who does that? Go walk across the street, talk to his face.
Yeah, see, Clark doesn't know how to handle dum-dums who are hyped up on drugs or just dum-dums in general. What you do is exactly what Nicole is saying. You go up to them and you be like, yeah, man, let's go. But let's go over here. Like, I'll take you to the place.
Let me
like,
drive.
Yeah, or in Clark's case, like, I'll speed run us to the Grand Canyon.
Ooh,
and we can,
see? And
you know,
he goes to the
There's so
hospital.
many things you could, yeah, and then he ends up at the hospital. Boom.
Exactly.
Or taps him on the forehead, knocks him out, and
Yeah,
then takes him to the
seriously, he's
hospital.
done that before.
Or just get him out of sight. Say, oh, dude, yeah, check out. There's this really great garbage can we can jump off in the back. It's just something. Like,
Seriously.
appeal to his desire for fun, trick him,
Instead
and
of
then
yelling across the street, you have a sickness. Let's go to the hospital.
So then it makes Pete mad. He sees a bus and he's like, I know what will help my adrenaline. Standing in front of the bus.
I don't know why it just makes them want to kill themselves. And it
Yeah.
shouldn't. It should just be, let's have the most fun. No one on earth thinks jumping in front of a bus is the most fun. I don't understand.
So I think that it happens over time. They're trying to get more and more of a rush, and they're trying to get closer and closer to the higher rush. It's kind of, it must have a diminishing return, just like highs typically have. But I think it's a very fast cycle.
That makes sense.
I wonder if Pete was thinking, Clark will save me.
There's
What an
that.
adrenaline rush.
Exactly. So he knows that this isn't likely to death, whereas later when we know that it should have resulted in death, they were looking for the high of all highs, right? And so, but that's a progression over time. Like over time, they're doing more and more dangerous stuff, and yeah, they have Clark there, but then eventually they won't.
After Pete is saved, he is mad at Clark, and he's like, if you do one more thing, I'm going to tell the whole world your secret. And Clark's like, let's just go to the hospital, please, which doesn't make Pete happy. And so he starts yelling, he's an alien, he's an alien, he's an alien.
Good thing everyone can tell that Pete's just,
Hyped up on
hyped,
something.
yeah.
because they're going to be like, that kid's crazy.
Except for probably that one girl who already heard in the locker talk about Clark's spaceship. She's like, that's twice now.
We'll call her Sophia and we'll do a spin-off.
Yeah,
with her.
she's got like red string and like things in her closet. Like, what's going on with Clark Kent? What's going on with
Is
Clark
he an
Kent?
alien? Oh my goodness.
But she refuses to ever tell anyone.
And she never tells anyone, but she actually knows the whole thing.
And then she dies and they discover it all.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So after this, we get to the caves. When I see a hole in a wall or in an old cave,
I agree with you already.
Nope. I don't shove my hand deep into. Have you not seen Indiana Jones
Yes.
or those other things? Like, I've read Dune where he sticks his hand in a box and it hurts. Come on, man. There's lots of times where people stick their hands in things and they get hurt.
Yes.
I wrote in my notes, it's goopy in that crack.
Oh gosh.
And I wrote it just for that reaction.
I didn't like that. Speaking of goopy cracks,
That doctor shows up. Dr. Walden.
He is a goopy crack.
He sucks.
He is just a typical butthole doctor, like PhD person.
Listen, he was
They're the
bullied,
most.
he was bullied his entire life, and now he has a chance to tell
He has
people what
power.
to do,
Exactly.
and he's going to take it out on everyone.
This stereotype doesn't exist out of nothing. I will say that. He's the worst. I actually kind of like how Chloe responds to him after she gets bit.
I feel like she would respond that way anyways.
I'm going to be devil's advocate because I actually like the doctor being like, you can't be here. We're doing scientific research. And he says, I don't care if you discovered the Shroud of Turin. You're not coming in the cave. And do you guys know what the Shroud of Turin is?
No.
Anybody?
Nope.
Okay.
It's claimed to be the sheet that was actually covering Jesus's face while he was buried for 3 days.
So
And
they
then-
have it. It's from the Middle Ages.
Oh, they've discovered it?
Well, the
Yeah.
Catholic Church has had it for
They've
like
had it
almost
for
2,000 years.
Ever, yeah.
Oh my
And they've
goodness.
now recently actually done some digital scans, and they think they know what his fate, like what he looked like, because of just the markings left on it.
Oh, that's so cool.
But I just like had heard of it recently, and so when it came up in this episode, I was like, I know what that is,
Yeah.
and I had never known what that was before. So it was kind of nice that like my adult brain was like knowledge that my teen brain was like, don't know what that is.
Basically, the Shroud of Turin is up there in infamy with the Ark of the Covenant.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I love that. Thank you for teaching me something
You're
new
welcome.
today.
And Dr. Walden doesn't give if even Clark had that. He says, you can't come in my cave, boy.
It's not what his position is, it's the way he goes about it. Just the arrogant, stuck-up butthole professor.
Yeah.
And Lex is there, and he's like, I guess you have to leave, Clark. Sorry.
And I get Lex's position, too. He wants this no matter what, and he's like, I guess I gotta play along.
But is that Lex's real position, or is his position, Clark, give me a better reason, the real reason you're down here?
That's a good
and then
point.
I'll let you stay.
I think at this moment, though, he's siding with Walden because he hasn't seen Clark go Red K yet again.
Makes sense.
But Chloe leans up against that cave wall and gets the neck poke of adrenaline.
So by that time, I knew it was something biting them. Or-
Right. You get the creature's POV for a second. It's like,
yeah.
in the cave.
It injects them with the thing.
with a baby.
Yeah, the baby.
Ew, I didn't even think about that. That's
Yeah,
disgusting.
they're the little ones.
Uh-huh.
Oh, Daniel, it's like that show.
Like Stargate?
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit like Stargate with the Goa'uld.
Yeah, them.
Luckily, these are easier to remove.
Barely an inconvenience.
Yeah, it really is. So after this, we go back to the loft.
And I loved this so much. And Pete's like, why'd your dad call my dad? Like, he like pops out with his like hands out and he like skates out of the corner. It's amazing. And Pete's just so pissed.
He has a shield. So he comes with a box that I'm assuming
yeah.
is what
Lead.
is it? Lead. A lead box with kryptonite or meteor rock in there. And he uses it as a shield like, you can't get near me.
And then he says something as he's running away, and Pete comes back and goes, "Oh, let me shove it in your face again!" Ha ha!
I know, he really does.
It's really
I
mean.
kind of love it.
But it's like, there's like that one thing that a person would say to you that would like cut you to your core and would be like the most betrayal thing they could ever say.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's that.
Oh yeah.
Pete, how could you do that?
You told everyone I was an alien, and now you're using my
Yeah.
biggest enemy against me.
Yep.
Well, part of what triggers Pete into doing all that is Clark x-rays him and sees the bug crawling around his spinal column. You x-raying me? Yeah. You got a bug in you, boy.
You got something floating around in there, Chief, you probably don't want around.
So, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think that Clark is in the right?
Yes.
Well, yeah, I had this thought while seeing that. There was an episode, maybe 10 episodes ago, after Pete knew, where he's like, you ever just take a peek with that x-ray vision? He doesn't have a problem with Clark invading somebody's privacy then, but now all of a sudden he does. It's just a
True.
little,
And
that was a
all the
little
more,
silly
and
to
all
me.
the more reason to x-ray someone if they're having a medical episode. Go for it.
Yes.
Just a call out for anyone that's watching through this the first time. There's a reference. They've already talked about this place before, but Lex brings this up again when they're talking about the specimen, the little bug in a jar. He said, send all of the live ones you found to Cadmus Labs.
Yeah.
That's just going to be an important call out. It's just a throwaway line right now, but that's an important call out to Cadmus Labs.
We talked about it
Ooh.
before.
Yeah, it's coming up again and again and again. Don't forget about it.
I'm so excited.
Chloe's been bitten. She went home, probably made some bad choices on the internet. Probably shopping, I would assume. Let's not
That's
get crazy.
all my bad choices. Midnight shopping.
Probably. And now she's at school making out with a strange.
Do you see his makeout face? He's like, oh.
So awkward. And then when he's like, "Can I get your number?" She's like, "Why? The what did she say?
The thrill is
the thrill is
gone."
gone. He's like, "Mo." And just like walks out of the room.
Oh, that sucks.
But the main star of this scene is not Chloe. It's not Clark. It's a lollipop.
Oh,
It
good
really is.
heavens.
I was like, oh, wow.
That
Lolly.
lollipop acting was strong,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but also disgusting.
Did you see, like, when she was turned around, it looked like she had, like, a string thong, but no thong?
I think it's just her belt is like stringy
Oh, okay.
from her weird skirt, her suede
Yeah,
skirt.
she has an interesting style of clothing, that's for sure.
Well, in that situation, it looked very seductive.
Oh,
I'm
I
sure
think
it
it
was
was
on
meant to
purpose.
be. Yeah.
I'm sure you loved this, Nicole. What orifice did you pull that out of?
A goopy cave crack.
So much I can't take.
This was
Ooh.
so cringy. I could not watch the lollipop. I was like, I'll stare at her eyes. I don't know
I
where to
know.
look.
It's awful. It's just like her tongue like flicking all over it and just like
I thought it was kind of hot.
Ugh. I'm not judging you. I just
I'm
hate
judging
everything
you.
about it.
That's because Daniel has the hots for Chloe.
He loves Chloe.
Clark is now officially, he knows Pete has a parasite. He has a theory. Chloe agrees. I don't know why Clark doesn't automatically assume Chloe's got something too. She's clearly something's wrong with her.
Yeah.
I don't know why he doesn't notice it.
It's a date.
Yeah, so weird. I think it's because he's like, oh, she must be awkward because she knows I'm going on a date with Lana.
Yes.
That's what he assumes, that he's an idiot.
Well, he's probably distracted by Pete's problems too.
So he goes to Lana because they're supposed to be having a date soon.
This broke my heart.
And he says, I have to cancel. I'm so sorry. Something's wrong with Pete. I have to take him to the hospital. And she's like, oh, okay, no problem. That's fine. We can wait a day.
Until Pete and Chloe show up and ruin it all.
Yeah, Chloe. Is her hair black by now?
Yeah, she's got the black bits in it. Oh, it's
Oh,
so nice. I love it so much.
As soon as I saw her, I was like, Daniel's gonna love this.
And he did. And he did.
One of the many problems, and I know it's skipping ahead, I just want to point out, he says that Pete has a problem.
Yeah.
Then Pete shows up and he's fine, right?
He's not
Well,
fine.
no, he's fine from what Lana's saying,
He's
right?
not like breaking his arm off.
But listen, this is the problem. At the end of the episode, before Clark goes with his apology, Pete and Chloe are in the hospital. So Lana still doesn't forgive him, even though he was clearly right that something was wrong.
She says, I know why Chloe was kissing you, but why were you kissing her? Here's the 100% excuse. Pete gave me something. They had a parasite. Pete gave me a drug. I was drugged. So I didn't need surgery. It just wore off.
That's
Genius.
a great one. Because I was thinking he can't claim the parasite because he
No.
didn't get the surgery. But that's a great call out.
Pete did
Because
give him a drug.
That's exactly what he did. It's not lying.
This episode reminds me, when I think about Lana in the whole course of the show, this is the Lana that I think about.
Oh, the one that's unforgiving and garbage?
Yes, this is why I don't like Lana. And it's not like it's Kristen Krug's fault. I get what they're trying to do, but again, it just always bothered me how she responded to Clark and his secrecy and everything. She just is so untrusting with him, despite the fact that he saves her and proves himself truly by his actions again and again and again and again. This will not be the end of her being the worst.
And it's not reciprocated. When she has her crazy bouts with different things, he's willing to overlook it, and she expects him.
And she forgives everybody else too, but not him. She'll forgive Chloe. What Chloe does later here in just a minute is pretty horrible to Lana.
Oh, it's not just let's make out. This feels good. It's let's make out in front of Lana to hurt her.
Yes,
That's
and to be
so
like,
rude.
see, I got him now. That whole thing is so much less forgivable than Clark. I don't know. It just bothers me so much.
But we're getting ahead of ourselves.
We are getting ahead.
Let's get to the meat of this.
The red K.
Yes. Pete says to Clark in the Talon, for you, green means stop, but red means go.
I do like that line. It's a
Me
fun
too.
line.
I looked at Brett and we were like, oh, and he drops it in his pocket.
And you see Clark's eyes like flare up with lust.
Yes.
It
And-
affects him so much faster this time.
It's a big piece.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, last time it was, what, 1 carat of
Maybe.
size tops
Yeah.
in that ring?
Yeah.
That's
This is like
a 10
chunk.
carat,
Where did
man.
Pete get that?
So then they run off.
He's like on adrenaline high. I need a red rock, like digging in the woods for a red vein.
I did
in the
not
woods.
even think about
Gotta
it.
find me some red. Gotta find me the red. There it is.
The glory hole.
Okay.
So they go back to the barn and they're being absolutely idiots. Clark and Pete decide to show Chloe without telling her what it is, but they show Chloe all the things that Clark can do.
I loved this. It makes me kind of wish that
they
they
all
would
could
have.
know.
Well, it made me wish that they would bring Chloe in because I feel like Chloe would have responded relatively similarly had they told her. It would have been toned down and everything would have been a little bit less wild, but I think Chloe would have been very accepting.
Yes. I knew she was going to lose her memories. I mean, I guessed,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
But I was like, this would be a great segue
It
into
would
telling
be.
her.
Yeah.
My favorite line, I think, in this entire episode
no.
is Clark's line, where when Chloe asks him if he can fly, he's like, I may be an alien, but I'm not a cartoon.
Yeah. My own personal superhero.
Hurt
It's
my
like,
heart.
well, yeah.
I love that so much. I'm not a cartoon. Oh, it's just so funny. The depth of that joke brings me joy. It's so corny and cheesy, but that's
I
the
always
fun
knew
of
there
it.
was something special about you, Clark Kent.
Yep.
She's into it.
So they're having this rebellious teen moment, breaking baseball bats, falling off of
And I kind of liked
ladders.
this. It was fun. It's totally what they would be doing right now. I mean, this is just dumb kids dialed up to 11. Dumb kids do crap like that already, just on a lower scale. I don't think they would have even needed drugs.
And telling Chloe a secret, she would be like, really? And he'd be like, yeah, jump off that thing, I'll catch you. Like,
yeah, exactly. And it would have been fun. And she'd been like, oh, that was fun. You know, that's totally what would happen. They're just dialed it up.
Now
that's
this is a Superman TV show, so we don't expect it to be real. But if anyone's tried to break a baseball bat on something before, go ahead and hit a flagpole, hit a brick wall, see what happens. It'll hurt your hands more than it'll hurt.
Well, Pete's adrenaline is through the roof.
Freak. At this point, if Pete had picked up a sledgehammer, the head of the hammer would have exploded.
Right.
It just, I don't know what it is, but when Clark gets hit by something, it's like this anti-kinetic force that just shatters it and stops it in its place. Except for when it doesn't. You know?
Yeah. So Lex shows up conveniently right after Clark super speeds to save Chloe. And they have a little conversation, and Clark decides to dumb teenager him and say, well, it's not your business. You're going to go because I'm going to go. Get out of here. We don't really need you. You're weird.
I just love that in TV shows and things like this, when a teenager is feeling bold and rebellious, they swear.
It's true.
Because he's like, I'm going to go in those caves whenever the hell I want.
Yeah.
Like, Clark would never say that. So the fact that he's like, ooh, I swear.
Yeah.
Ooh,
so
I said a
true.
word.
Yeah.
It's so true. Oh my gosh.
And that alone is like,
It's like that's what it's like to be an adult to a
Yeah, you
kid.
can
Is
swear.
you can say certain words because you're an adult now and like they have weight behind them.
When really they can't. I tell my kids, yeah, you can swear. How would I know if you're swearing? Like, first off, they're just words. And second, nobody's stopping you. Like, yeah, you'll get in trouble if it's in front of me, but I'll never know otherwise.
Right.
at what point, if your kid swore in front of you, would you be like, and not even care? Like, how old do they have to be?
I think an adult, 18.
Okay. Because
I don't have
every
control
once in
anymore.
a while, I'm like in my mid-30s, and every once in a while I'll swear in front of my dad. And I'm always like,
So that's
I don't
funny.
swear that often, but when I do, it's for a reason.
That's
so
funny you say that. I do not swear in front of my dad.
Okay, really?
I know he would not be okay with that.
Now, this was hilarious. I do swear from time to time. I try not to. My kids will tell you I try not to. But it's hilarious because my mother to this day believes every one of my other siblings swears, but does not believe that I would swear.
Like, ever?
And he swears in front of her.
She still's like, she's like, I'm just glad that Brett never has. And we're like, what? My dad looks at her and he goes, what? He goes, he doesn't. All the other ones do, but he doesn't. My dad's looking at me and I just look at him, shrug my shoulders. I don't know.
It's so funny.
That is funny.
Moving on to the next scene. We're in the car
You
full
mean
of
the
teenagers.
Pimp-mobile?
Yeah, Pete is so funny. Like, his lines are just wild. Clark and Chloe decide to start making out hardcore in the back of the car. They literally crawl back there together while the car's moving.
Yes.
And Pete's like, hold on, this ain't a pimp mobile.
All right. This is a podcast, so you viewers aren't going to be able to know the answer to this. Well, I guess we could say it, but raise your hand if you've ever made out in the back of a car. Well,
Most definitely.
While somebody else is
Someone's-
driving?
yeah.
Nah.
I have.
I mean, I did have friends talk about how they did this thing called trunking, that they called it.
What is
No,
trunking?
It's where your buddy is going to go make out with a girl in his car, and so you and one other friend
Hide in the trunk?
hide in the trunk, and then while they're making out, you make a bunch of noises just to mess with them.
That's funny.
I
approve.
love that. Have you ever made out in the back of a car while someone driving?
No, I'm not.
I mean, I've made out in my own car when nobody's driving.
Okay, so you haven't either?
I
Nicole,
have. It must
you
just
have.
be us.
That's
a
where
privilege.
Nicole got
It's
her
a
adrenaline.
That's the rush.
Okay, Chloe, in this high of insanity, says, before we jump the gorge, let's go to the Talon first.
This made me sick.
They go to the Talon. They're making out in like some booth. A different waitress is like, y'all disgusting, get out.
Y'all disgusting.
And they're like, go get the manager because they want Lana to see. And then Chloe's like, let's play strip poker. Clark says, we don't have any cards. So she pulls imaginary cards from her bosom, passes out 5 imaginary cards to Clark. She wins. So she rips open his shirt and the buttons just tinkle to the floor.
Button.
It just
That's impressive. Have you ever tried to just rip a button shirt like that?
It is hard. It's the adrenaline.
Yeah, no kidding. I bet the girls were excited to see Clark shirtless.
No, you don't see it.
No.
He's covered by a whore. And I don't like how dirty her face is. Like her eye makeup, her lipstick. Oh, it's awful.
That was great.
Oh my gosh. Well, I like a dark lip and I like a dark eye, but not
like
the
that.
way she does it. It just to me is like chaotic evil. Ugh.
Oh, that's why it's fun.
You mean whorish?
It's awful.
The shirt comes off,
And so does the red
and the
K.
kryptonite's just far enough away to no longer affect him.
The red K has to be like on him.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. So there are multiple kryptonite colors
Yes,
we've
we know that.
established. There's not just two.
Yeah, there's a lot.
I will say that. Some do require direct contact and others do not.
Really?
So red K has to
excited.
be like skin to skin, essentially.
Green is
But
just like
green
an
is
aura.
except for in this episode when there's a big plot hole about it, but we'll get there in a second.
Can we talk about when Lana walks in? Because here's what bugs me. This is the kiss she sees.
Yes.
He's not kissing
He's
back.
pushing
he
her
pushes
away.
her away.
And he doesn't. I couldn't see his bare skin. Could you when he zips up his shirt? I could
No.
just see
No.
his beige
Jacket.
jacket. And he's like, it's not what it looks like. Yeah, you're pushing her off, and Chloe looks like an absolute tramp.
Yes.
Clearly, it's not what it looks like.
So that bugged me.
Clark's maybe got a bulge we can't see from the camera. Who knows?
Well, it's just the worst what Chloe does here to Lana, but there's also some truth coming out too about how Chloe feels in general.
Yeah, she soups into Clark.
She explains really how she's feeling, and these are like true feelings coming
That
out.
she wants to hurt her roommate and make out with Clark.
I felt so bad for Lana. Just she's crying, and it's so sad here.
Yeah, Clark runs out to talk to Pete and Chloe, and he's like, you guys gotta stop. I thought Chloe was gonna get a cigarette out, but it ended up just being makeup. But then Pete has a meteor rock in his hand. Is his hand made of lead? Because last I heard it's not. So Clark should be like, oh, I don't feel very good.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
He doesn't even notice
And
until
he opens like one finger at a time.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a really small piece that.
It's his whole
It's
fist.
the same piece.
It's the same piece that was in his lead box.
I don't know.
Maybe he found it whilst looking for his red chunk.
I did like the punch out with the kryptonite fist,
Well, sure.
but yeah, you're right. It needed to have some sort of effect before that.
Pull it out of a box. Clark could take a step back and then punch him. Like, I don't know. Just give me a little more continuity of the rules.
And he had crazy strength, adrenaline strength.
Yeah,
Is that
Clark
what we're-
broke the newspaper holder box
Yeah, it could just be
and then
a
knocks him
normal
out.
hook from Pete.
So
but
Clark
with
went
the
unconscious there?
Oh,
Yeah.
that's true.
That's
Yeah.
nuts.
Knocked him out pretty
And,
good.
and then Lana wakes him up with a
Dumps
bucket of
on
water.
us, yeah.
Bucket of flower water.
yeah, the
Yeah.
flowers are just laying on the street.
Bleh.
Like, why couldn't he just be like, clearly something's wrong with them, Lana? Clearly.
Yeah, he just punched me out. I've got to go stop them. They're going
Like, He
crazy.
just punched me in the face.
Yes.
Something's wrong with him. I told you something was wrong.
Yeah, I just hate how he doesn't defend himself at all. It's
Yes.
annoying.
So for a very cool moment, Pete and Chloe decide, oh, we're going to go for it. We're going to drive over the gorge. And really, they just drive to fall right into it.
Yeah.
And who's there? But Clark catches the car.
It's a super catch. It's, just like if you watch Superman Returns, when he catches a plane, it gave me those vibes just on a very, very smaller scale. If you caught a car like that, even if you cushioned the fall, it would still crumple from the weight of the entire car being on the bumper.
That's so true. And it would hurt them.
Oh, yeah.
Like
They
a
both
car
would have broken
accident.
Well, I mean,
noses.
you could argue that he cushions
Soft
it a
catch.
bit, but still, even then, there would damage would happen to the car. It would at least bend inward a bit. I get that that's probably a difficult effect to make.
And it didn't look great either.
So
Eh.
my second major issue with this episode. How many times has Clark told Pete, I'm taking you to the hospital?
Too many.
Several times. And every time, Pete says no.
Right.
But for some reason, now that Clark's caught the car, they just end up at the hospital.
And
they
he
didn't
just
fight
carries
it.
them.
They didn't say no.
yeah,
there was
and
nothing
what
there.
did Pete say? I punched him in the face with this. Don't need it anymore. Threw it out the window. I'm sure he would have
He
kept that
could've.
shiz in his pocket.
I mean, he could have been like, throws it into the back of the car, doesn't care. I don't know.
But my
It is
point
a little dumb.
They don't even show how Clark convinced them to go to the hospital because nothing's
there's
worked
no
so
time. There's no time
far. No,
left.
so
I did love their like toddler reaction. Like, one more time, Clark, do it again.
What if, this is a what if, ready? What if the kryptonite or the meteor rock was still in the car and Clark was just standing there ready to save him, and then mid-fall, he doesn't have his powers?
That makes more sense to me.
That's in the how it should have ended version. So they get to the hospital, and I guess it's barely an inconvenience to surgically remove this
creepy
parasite
crawly
off.
bug.
live creepy alien
and
thing.
have it not like crawl into the surgeon's hand
Wouldn't it mean more for them to take a pill to kill it and then
like a
poop it out?
parasitic.
Maybe
But it's not in their intestines.
it must
so I
have
don't
been
know.
attached to their adrenal gland in order to elicit this reaction constantly. And so it must have been attached to something. So if you have something that's attached to something in your body, removing it must not be very easy. They would have had to somehow kill it, like either taking a pill or using the scalpel to get it as they're getting it. I don't know.
So, dear listeners, make this make sense. The adrenal gland is on top of the kidneys.
Oh,
So, F you, Smallville.
Actually, if you watched when he was looking into Pete's,
it's down there.
it is hanging around down
I
there.
thought it was higher up, but maybe I'm wrong.
It's like the center of their stomach-ish, which is close enough.
Oh, by the way, did you like when he scans Chloe? You don't see her at all. You just see Clark looking at Chloe.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
There's not like any debate of like her breasticles or anything when he's scanning. You just see him scan. He goes, "You have a bug."
Yep.
It's good stuff.
Thank
Yeah.
goodness for the amnesia parasite, though.
Oh yeah, seriously, she doesn't remember anything.
But Pete remembers.
No, he doesn't.
He just he knows the
He says
consequence.
Clark
Oh.
filled me in.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right.
Question, because I was really confused about this. Does Clark have hidden feelings for Chloe still?
Yes.
Of
Because it
course.
felt like it.
Yes.
Of course.
So then are they going to try again? You're not
Maybe.
going to tell me, are you?
I don't know. I think everyone dates everyone. It's like how in Grey's Anatomy, every character has diddled every other character at
Which
some
is
point.
so weird to me.
It's
but
so stupid.
sure. Yeah.
We get back to the Clark Kent farm, and Pete is apologizing, and I love the Kent's reaction. They're so forgiving. This is the major juxtaposition to Lana's reaction at the hospital, where she's like, "No, F you. I'm not here to see you. I'm here to see Chloe."
I know. I had a problem with this family scene. I liked it, but Jonathan was saying, this is dangerous. Like, because Pete is using this against you, this is dangerous. And then Pete walks in and all of a sudden he changes his tune, which is fine.
I think both can be true.
But I think he should have been like, you know what? You're right. I'm so sorry. This could happen to any of us. But he goes from talking bad about Pete to like, okay, we love you. And I'm like, you should have communicated a little better.
Sure.
So in the next scene, we get the doctor coming back to Lex's. They're talking about the creature and what's been found at Cadmus Labs.
It's an alien.
And they confirm that it is unique. It's nothing like exists on Earth. Oh my goodness, it's alien. And you guys have discovered aliens. And those are no longer hieroglyphics of ancient cultures. It's alien, right?
Whoa, dun dun dun.
There's the big plot point.
Except Lex says, you know what though? Clark's going in that cave whenever he wants. And the doctor's like, no, that's stupid. He goes, Clark knows something about this cave. You need to let him in because it will help us in the long run with our research.
Yeah, it's not because he's his friend.
No.
It's because he might learn something.
There's always another layer to everything Lex does.
Yep. He's not fighting very hard against his darkness right now.
No.
In our next scene, we're back at the Talon, and Clark goes to apologize. We've already talked about how we're not really okay with the way that Lana won't forgive.
And I'm not okay with the terrible, terrible excuse that Clark doesn't immediately think of that's right there.
There's that. But I want to ask, is this even a semi-decent apology for what happened? A pizza and a rose?
It's so stupid.
Like, you're apologizing and your thought is, I'm going to bring you pizza and a
It's
rose?
just,
For a dumb teenager,
It's something. It's an attempt.
it is an attempt.
like, take her by the shoulders, hold her and make her look in the eye and say, nothing I said or did in the last 2 days has been negative about you. I was physically drugged by Pete, and I'm so sorry. I want to be with you. And then kiss her on the mouth.
Yep.
Yes.
That would have done it.
Yep.
But then we wouldn't have the...
Her being an absolute biatch.
Yeah.
And I get the hurt. Like, if you saw someone you were super into kissing someone else that you knew they liked, that is it's valid to feel super sad. I would cry. I would be crying in the back room, pouring
So
sugar.
then you say, Clark, your apology was great. Give me a couple days to cool down.
I can't stop picturing it. I just keep thinking about it over and over again. Every time I walk into the talent, I see that moment relived. I need some time. Valid on both sides,
Very.
but no, just throw a rose in the garbage. So stupid.
It's time for all of you to join the I Hate Lana Club.
You mean because she forgives everyone else but Clark all the time?
It's
Yeah.
because Clark doesn't have a good excuse. It's his own fault.
That's kind of how we end. We end with her throwing that rose away. I kind of liked how she did smell it,
Well, you gotta smell
One
it.
last
Roses
time.
smell incredible.
but she was doing
Have to
more than
smell
just
it.
smelling a rose.
Yes.
You
And I
know.
loved that touch, right? I'm not giving up. I still have feelings for him, but not right now.
Yeah.
Garbage.
Yep, she tosses it away. Or it's trying to, it's that stupid teenage thing where you're like, never again. And you know you're going to do
Until
it again.
tomorrow.
Right.
Until tomorrow.
We are never, ever,
The power
ever.
of a good night's sleep is pretty transformative, though.
It's true. I also like the song that was playing.
Yeah,
at the
that
end
song
here.
was. I don't normally notice music. We've discussed this before. How I'm illiterate with music, but the lyrics were like, "The dream is over." It's so good. Classic. Is that '90s music?
Yes.
It's gotta be so good.
Speaking of music, I think Nicole had an idea to use AI to write a song about this very episode.
I sure did.
I'm so excited.
So let's,
We'll save it to the end. We'll just play it at the end.
so stay tuned for the end of the episode to listen to this new song that Nicole used AI to write.
But let's discuss. Was this episode super or man?
Man, you could totally skip this episode.
How dare you?
Listen, there's some fun things. He catches a car, you see Red K again, but ultimately, man.
Nicole just has nostalgic hormones
I do.
with this episode. I thought it was man. I hated it. Hated it.
I thoroughly enjoyed this episode. I'm going to put a big fat super sticker
I
on
think
it.
you should absolutely watch it. It's so good.
Yes.
I
but you
could
can
see-
skip it and it won't.
I don't think you can skip
It's got
it.
some plot stuff in it.
It's got
It
some
does.
plot stuff,
It
but
does.
honestly,
And if you're going to properly hate Lana, you need this episode.
Oh, brother.
Okay, I have a question. At the very beginning, when they're having the party, Pete is worried about it being in the caves. Chloe says, I don't think a little Moby will hurt the caves.
The
Did you guys
singer.
know what Moby? Was it the person singing?
Yeah, no, I don't think it. I don't know if it was him because I don't listen to Moby, but I know of Moby.
All I know is that song that plays in the very, very beginning is a song that I know actually pretty well.
Really? So she's just maybe saying that a little music won't hurt the caves.
That song was huge in like 2001.
Yeah, Moby's like a
I'd probably know
party
if I heard it.
musician guy. He's bald.
Oh, okay, thanks. I was like,
There's an
what is
episode
that?
of How I Met Your Mother where they think they met Moby, but he's not Moby.
Oh, okay. Yep, I know exactly who you're talking
Okay,
about.
the bald guy with the gun.
Thank you. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, on a bald ending,
Moby note.
I guess it's time to end.
Thanks for remembering Smallville with us. Join us next week when
Lionel plays chess.
Lex plays checkers.
And Lucas plays cornhole.
Clock looks at Lana, heartbeat racing fast. They were close but never last. Love lost in the past. Lana sees Clark's eyes, wandering in the night. Together they fly high, but something isn't right. Almost there, but not quite. Love's a puzzle out of sight. He loves her, she loves him, but the light is getting dim. Clark's hiding secrets, his heart in disguise. Lana feels the waves crash, love stuck under lies. Moments stolen in the dark, silent dreams destinies crash. Love stuck under lies, moments stolen in the dark, silent dreams and tender sparks, whispers linger in their hearts, never truly found their mark. Oh, destiny's cruel game keeps them just out of frame, hearts intertwined in vain, yearning through the